What's going on, guys? It's Jake here. In this video, I'll be talking about 5 dividend stocks that you can buy and hold forever. But before I get into the video, if you're new to the channel, definitely consider subscribing if you're into investing, stock market, stuff like that. And also, I'm probably just going to leave like a list of the 5 stocks and like a short, brief explanation, probably even just my notes I made for this video. So if you're one of those people that just looked up this video just to see the stocks and get on your way, feel free to check out the description. But if you are one of those people, also definitely leave a like for me leaving the information for you. 5 different stocks to buy and hold forever. And of course, this is just simply my biased opinion. You know, this isn't advice or anything like that. First stock on the list is going to be Waste Management, ticker symbol WM. So with Waste Management, if you're unfamiliar with what this company is, they're basically a company that just simply focuses on recycling and getting rid of your trash. So you've probably seen them in your neighborhood. Maybe they're your personal like garbage disposal system. I don't know, maybe you know people that work for them. I know they're actually kind of big where I live, but either way, the stock itself, you're just always going to need a company like this regardless of the economic climate, and it's probably more of a long-term play that is quite future-proof. So the stock like this, you know, even if recycling starts getting a whole lot bigger in the US like it has in some other parts of the world, and people are less focused on getting rid of just throwing every single thing in their house out and using plastic and stuff like that, I think recycling can definitely still be quite big, and it is a big part of this company's business model and overall what they do. So in terms of whether or not this company is future-proof, I definitely think that it is, and it actually does have a really nice dividend yield associated with it. At the time of making this video, it's around 1.7%. And they have been giving out this yield for quite some time. So overall with Waste Management, I think it is future-proof. It has a really nice yield. It's a company that just has a strong model that's really not going anywhere anytime soon. And it's one that's going to do well regardless of the economic climate. And I think those are some pretty basic things that are important for a good dividend yielding stock that you want to buy and hold for a very long time. After that is Johnson & Johnson. So Johnson & Johnson is probably a really obvious one on this list, and probably any list, if you just simply hit a Google search of best dividend stocks or best dividend stocks to buy and hold forever, Johnson & Johnson's probably in the top 5 on any of those lists, regardless of where you look. So with Johnson & Johnson, if you're unfamiliar with who they are, you probably have a ton of Johnson & Johnson products in your bathroom or in your, you know, cabinet, medicine cabinet, whatever. They are one of the biggest, and I think they actually, at the time of making this video, they pretty much are the biggest healthcare company or pharmaceutical company in the world. So with Johnson & Johnson, their business model is quite future-proof, and it's probably not going anywhere anytime soon. So they are a somewhat specific retailer, and you could consider them a specific retailer because they do pretty much only sell healthcare slash like bathroom toiletry related products. And with Johnson & Johnson though, they have such a huge supply, so many different revenue streams, that they're very likely not going anywhere anytime soon. And these products obviously are going to be continue to be needed. And with their dividend yield, they actually do have a yield at almost 3% while I'm giving this out. They have increased their dividend yield for 57 consecutive years. So that is the highest level among the dividend kings, which are stocks that have been increasing their dividend yield on an annual basis for more than 50 years. And they're just simply the biggest healthcare company in the world. Really great dividend yield, have been doing it forever. Very future-proof. So in my opinion, this is just a simply obvious one to put on this list. But I will note that in somewhat of recent years, or at least at the time that I'm making this video, and I guess some of these accusations haven't been as recent, like some of them were like 20, 30 years ago, but some of the there's been a lot of negative news around Johnson & Johnson in terms of them doing things kind of a long time ago that they definitely shouldn't have. So there is some of that negative news, but it doesn't seem to be super relevant or super new. A lot of it seems to be from years and years ago, and in some cases even like 50 plus years ago, but those still are somewhat important, somewhat noteworthy. After that is going to be Lowe's, ticker symbol LOW. So Lowe's is one that I think deserves to be on this list for a handful of reasons. So one, Lowe's and Home Depot are the biggest 2 stores in its industry. And, you know, I'm sure I could already see it now. It's like some comments talking about, you know, hey, why is Lowe's on this list? They have Home Depot. It's a huge competitor. Home Depot's technically number 1 to Lowe's, and those are a lot of good points. But in terms of dividend yield, Lowe's is way, way better off than Home Depot. Depot, and Home Depot I think is actually another good stock. There's nothing wrong with them, but two companies can obviously compete in the same industry. You see a ton of different companies in various different industries doing the same thing: Coke and Pepsi, Apple, Samsung, Microsoft, and I guess you can compare them to Apple, Microsoft, Apple, even though it's not as high, I guess, as rivals as they used to be. But either way, with Lowe's here, it's okay to be number 2. They have a really, really great history of a dividend yield. They probably are future proof because people are going to be doing home improvements, whether or not, house buying goes down or up. It's still going to be a necessity that people do need. And it hasn't been a brick and mortar store that has been affected really at all by more online sales or more e-commerce, things like that, because with a store like that, it would be kind of hard to replicate this online. But even if that does happen in the future where, they need to go online, they need to focus more on e-commerce, I am pretty confident that Lowe's will be able to handle that. And they just have a really, really great history of dividend yields. After that, and the fourth stock on the list is going to be Walmart, ticker symbol WMT. So with Walmart can pretty much do well regardless of the economic situation with their sort of budget-friendly ecosystem and their budget-friendly stores and options. They are going to do well whether the stock market's down a whole lot. You can take a look at about 12, 13 years ago when the recession happened. They actually did quite well during that time compared to the rest of the stock market. And Walmart just simply has a really great history of doing well regardless of the economic climate. And I also think that Walmart is quite future-proof for a couple of reasons. And I think the biggest reason that they are future-proof is a lot of people were worried when Amazon was taking down a lot of brick and mortar places, but Walmart was able to do actually quite well and actually crush a lot of other competitions and are actually, in some analysts' eyes, still technically doing better than Amazon. So Walmart is obviously a very, very big store, one of the biggest in the world, and overall I think they are future proof. They're going to continue to do well in terms of online sales because as of now they are doing super well and they have been able to crush it, and I don't think they're going to be knocked out or out of the competition or even knocked out of the top spot in terms of other companies like Amazon or even other random online retailers knocking them out. I really just don't see it happen. They've done a really, really great job. And overall, they've actually been able to increase their dividend yield for the past 46 years. So they're almost a dividend king. And considering they have been able to do it for 46 years, I think they are still going to be able to increase that yield and keep it quite strong. After that, and actually, now that I say that, I have 6 stocks on this list, so there actually is a bonus stock. I didn't even realize that when I was making this video. But anyways, AT&T, next stock on the list, ticker symbol T. They have a very high and a very reliable yield. They actually have the highest yield on this list at almost 6% at the time that I'm making this video. AT&T's definitely had some tough times over the past couple of years or so. So if you have been an owner like I actually have, they definitely had some tough times in terms of price movement. But with a lot of these stocks on this list, I'm not really expecting huge growth in terms of the stock price, but I am expecting a good, reliable yield over a really long time. They have had this 5% yield or this really high yield for quite some time now, and sometimes when, especially this is my personal investing and dividend investing philosophy, when a company that's, especially smaller ones, gets their dividend yield up like 7, 6, 8, 9, 10% or so, it's probably very likely that this yield isn't very reliable. But with a company like AT&T, they're so huge, they have a ton of cash at hand, and they have been able to combat through tough times. I can't really see them cutting their dividend yield or getting rid of that dividend yield anywhere substantial, I should say, at least. And also, AT&T has a pretty good history of just being able to, when things do change, like obviously people are switching more to cell phones now, and then they have been in the past 15 years or so, and people are doing things like getting rid of cable and focusing more on streaming and stuff like that. I think AT&T's done a really great job of keeping up to date with that kind of stuff. And finally, last but not least on this list is going to be Southern, ticker symbol SO. So with Southern, they're a great utility stock. People are always going to need this. In my opinion, they're quite future-proof because they are focused more on electricity. They are sort of regional, that's not a word. They are more of a regional company, and they are focused more in the South, but they technically do have a presence in the entire United States. I will say I guess they're not completely future-proof, because if you do plan on holding this for the next 50 years or so, it definitely is possible that the US, or the whole world, converts to more reusable and renewable energy, things in that case. But I think a company like this can definitely adapt to that. And for now, they do have a really great yield, over 4%, and they have increased this yield annually for over 30 years. So, or actually, now that I say that, I think it's actually almost exactly 30 years or so. I'll have to double check. But either way, they have been able to increase their yield. They are a dividend aristocrat, and they are a really, really solid dividend stock. In my opinion, that's in an industry that's pretty much always needed. People are always going to pay their electric bills regardless of the economic climate, because you kind of do need that. But other than that, guys, it's really it for this video. So definitely let me know in the comment section what you think about these stocks. It actually ended up being 6 stocks. I think in the beginning of the video I said 5, but either way, let me know what you think about these stocks. Maybe perhaps you own them, maybe you don't, maybe you plan to, maybe you own other great dividend yielding stocks. Definitely let me know in the comment section. Always like hearing what you guys have to say. And also, like I said before, if you're new to the channel, I talk about the stock market, personal finance, entrepreneurship, things like that. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, definitely consider subscribing. But other than that, guys, thanks for watching.